Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course with a scene that has not been here in decades. Welcome back to GRIDLIFE Mid-Ohio Meet. Kyle Heyer joined by Derek King for a historic day. This is the first time in decades that drift has been on the full course here at Mid-Ohio. Derek, welcome. You're in GLTC this weekend and double dutying here in the booth with me. This is a big day for a lot of drivers here, I think.
Yeah, the excitement in the Midwest to be able to drive here at Mid-Ohio again. Well, it happened so long ago that most of the guys that are involved with drifting now didn't even know it had happened here before, so everyone's extremely excited. There's guys that, you know, it was kind of a short notice, but the guys didn't want to miss it, so they kind of made it happen because there's a lot of big events going on back-to-back, it seems like, this month.
Yeah, so certainly a lot going on in the drift world, but full course drift is what GRIDLIFE does, right? So there's all different kinds of drifting, but road course drifting is kind of what this is known as in the drift world, and it's a bit of a different animal in some ways because of the speeds you're carrying, and there's walls, and it can get busy out there as well. So what's been your experience with the energy level around an event like this compared to to drifting a skid pad or something like that?
Well, first off, it can be very overwhelming for guys because they're used to running typically majority of drift tracks are second gear courses that are set up, whether it's a skid pad or within like a track on the infield of a oval track. So when guys get to go out here, and honestly, there's fourth gear corners that they could use if their car is capable. But so guys that are out here, you know, drifting in third gear for maybe even their first time, it's definitely overwhelming. And on a track like Mid-Ohio, going through madness, the corners are all blind. So, I mean, to be honest, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, there's definitely a fear factor here, but I think this track has such good flow, whether you're gripping or drifting, especially really turn 4 through 9. We're in turn 8 now. It's just you can carry a drift basically half the track. It's amazing how much speed you can carry, but you mentioned how blind it can be, and also the car gets light over a couple of these transitions. There's a bunch of elevation. That's got to throw a lot more complexity into your footwork as well.
Yeah, for sure, because, well, you know, there's the pro level cars that have gobs of grip and horsepower, so they're more capable of carrying a stretch like that, for instance. But yeah, the lower powered cars, they're going to have a harder time carrying some of those corners like what they were going through 8 and 9 there, compared to Madness, where they're kind of linked a bit closer together. So it's, you know, there's SR20 cars that make 220 horsepower out there, I've seen. So they're having a little bit more of a time, you know, carrying through the larger corners, but it looks like they're getting it done still. So.
Yeah, and actually, I think one of the things that might be helping, I talk about grip a lot in drift, because I think people that don't quite understand the sport might think, well, you don't really need grip, but that's not necessarily true. You need grip in particular instances to really achieve this kind of effect, right?
Yeah, if you don't have the grip, then you're not going to propel forward to carry it to the next corner. So if your car can handle the grip, then that's what the guys are throwing at it these days. It's become very popular. For instance, this car here is a SR20 powered sedan, and it's just on a stock turbocharger. So he's probably one of the lower powered cars. There's a 350Z convertible there. That's also just a stock engine, so probably one of the lower ends of the power spectrum out there, but it looked like they're having no problem getting around there, using that momentum that this track offers.
Yeah, I think the momentum's a big key. We have drifted this year, Carolina Motorsports Park, Watkins Glen International, which was the first time that has ever happened at that racetrack. We are the only group that can drift at Lime Rock Park on the full course as well, and we'll be drifting at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in a display capacity. As far as Watkins Glen, though, that was a track that hasn't had it happen ever before, and that was a track that had so much grip that it was problematic because the track is freshly repaved. It's really fast. It doesn't have a lot of very tight corners, and you talk about needing grip, but there's also probably a level of too much grip where you can't break the tires loose, especially if you don't have a 1,500 horsepower pro car.
Yeah, and guys will battle that or offset that with more tire pressures. That's like the easy go-to, seems like. I guess from my understanding, Mid-Ohio is one of the more slippery tracks out of all the courses, or most of the road courses in the country. And I don't know if that's really an advantage or not for these guys, or maybe it seems normal. I'm not too sure, you know, because we're normally drifting on questionable surfaces, I'd say. So
Yeah, I mean, as far as grip levels go, Mid-Ohio is known for being pretty slick, especially in the wet. Probably the scariest racetrack in the country when it's wet. Right now, it's a beautiful day on this Friday afternoon in August, so it certainly is up to the task. But we just saw one of the cars go through. I think it was Chance with the Reef crew. They're not from a long ways away, but their business is saltwater and freshwater fish tanks.
Oh, really?
and that kind of thing. And I think that's such a fascinating tie-in to be on the side of a race car. It's not something that you typically see,
no
so that was cool.
Yeah, nowadays you see stuff about Bitcoin or, just power adders.
Right. And for those that are new to Grid Life Drift, we do not do competitive drift in Grid Life, and it's a double-edged sword, right? Because there's not much to judge or to scale or score anybody on. However, there's also the aspect of this is just for fun. Drivers come here to hang out, have a good time, get some tandems in without having the pressure of competition, and that's got to be nice, right? It's like a little drift vacation.
Yeah, it is. It's a more stress-free environment, and there's a lot of stiff competitions out there these days, and I think guys kind of it might take the fun out of it, and so when they get an opportunity like this to kind of go and just relax and turn some laps stress-free, it is a big relief, and it's something that guys need to take advantage of if they have the opportunity.
Yeah, and I think there's about 30 or 40 drifters here this weekend that are getting this opportunity to drive on Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And we also have the grip drift sessions as well, which will happen after this. We won't stream those, but that's a session where the people can basically get in. If a car has a passenger seat, they grab a helmet and jump in and go for a ride. And that's not an experience you can get anywhere else on a track like this.
Not on a course like this, no doubt. I mean, getting ride-alongs typically,
sure,
unless you're an instructor, doesn't really happen too often on road courses.
Right. Really neat build here. Is this an SC400?
Yeah, or 300, but it is LS powered with a single turbo. That's Dan Perlinfin. He's the one offering the tire services this weekend. He's Drift Indy manager, so we see each other quite frequently at our home track at Kilcare in Dayton, Ohio.
And there's Chance with the Reef crew.
Okay, I've seen that car this weekend.
Yeah, nice livery. They've got a tent over there as well with it on the side.
Now, the sounds of that is probably one of the more underpowered cars out there right now, drifting for sure.
Yeah, you have to be a bit more aggressive with your initiation as well, just to get that angle, and then really stab and be kicking that clutch to try to spin those tires.
Lots of tire pressures probably he's running, I bet.
Yeah, it's just fascinating to watch the different belts. Big angle here.
Now that, for instance, that's got a Coyote 5.0 in this car. Supercharged, so I guess like a Roush supercharger, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's a great sounding car. He frequents some of our events, and it's a pleasure to hear that thing, and he really drives it well.
This complex from turn 4 down to turn 6, this is just made for drift, and you have to wonder why it's been so long since we've done drift here, or why we've never done it before. It's part of GridLife's Festival Tour this year, obviously, to bring drift to places that have never had it. But this complex, it reminds me a lot like Lime Rock's Big Bend and Turn 3 complex, where they hadn't ever really drifted that before. But it's once you do it, you're like, how is this not what we do all the time? It's just a perfect section of racetrack for this.
Yeah, this section here through Madness, right around China Beach and up and over this hill is just... It flows really good, I think, for almost all types of drift cars.
Yeah,
flow a little too much there.
A little too much. And track limits, obviously, when you're in a grip car, there's not really much to have to deal with here because it's all grass and gravel. But as a drifter, you got to make sure you keep it on the black stuff, otherwise you'll have to get dug out. See the gravel trap on driver's left there going into turn 9, which Greg was talking about in GLTC qualifying, that this is such a challenging corner. You come up over this crest and the track falls away.
Yeah,
as I'm sure you've experienced.
You can't see the outside of that corner, and honestly, going into the corner, that brake zone, the car is all sorts of upset, and so I think that's probably one of the more difficult corners when it comes to grip driving here, in my opinion.
Yep. See Pete Collins with the ASM crew in that blue M3 that's ripping around through the carousel right now.
Yeah, that sounds like that might be kind of a stock-powered car too. Maybe doesn't sound like it's got a whole lot of adders to it. I think I saw that at Gingerman for the first time a couple years back, actually.
Yeah, Pete's got a couple of cars. I think this is his non-crazy one. He's got one that's a little more wild, but it's got a livery on it and everything. But it's always a good vibe to have around in the paddock.
That yellow sedan BMW, that's also, I don't think that's a turbocharged model or anything either, so it's on the lower end of things, I'd say. It's good to see those guys come out. So I know I hear some guys are like, I don't want to get ran over. And I was like, it's intimidating, but they're also the pros driving the pro cars. They're very aware of what's going on around them.
Yeah. Some folks asking if the track is cleaned off between sessions. Sometimes, mostly because right after this we've got a Time Attack NOS Energy Track Battle Championship qualifying, and certainly this throws a little bit of a wrench into things with the track surface, but that's part of...
If they can keep it clean, you know, and try not to, you know, if they do go off track and try not to keep standing on it, you know, then that really goes a long way. They don't realize how much stuff gets kicked up all the way out on the track.
Right. Does move the rubber around a little bit as well. We've got a nice rubbered in line, big send around the outside of 6.
And these cars aren't all running super grippy tires, so they're laying down a much different type of compound too, so it's not really that helpful for anyone grip driving.
Right. I think one of the challenges of getting drift at some of these you know, FIA Grade 2 circuits here in North America that haven't seen it is there's generally concern about pavement and how much wear and tear it puts on the pavement, but Derek, I'm sure you can attest, it doesn't really do that because you're kind of skipping across the surface. You're not really digging into it in the same way a high downforce Time Attack or you know, sports car would. So different thing, really.
I mean, if they're all pro cars out there, for sure there's going to be a different level of rubber get put down, because I've seen some of the rubber after a weekend of the pro drifting, and there's just rubber stacked on rubber to where there's almost no asphalt down there.
Yeah. This is a nice looking build here.
It's a Nissan Laurel sedan, Jordan Tippmann from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Now, you're going to laugh at me a little bit, but my drifting experience stops at Assetto Corsa. And Charlie Enslin, who's our operations manager, had me download a car pack where the Laurel was one of the cars that was featured in it, and that's one of my cars of choice.
All right, yeah, there's a really neat car. He got that, I think, almost 7-8 years ago. And he drives that too. He drove that all the way here from Fort Wayne. So
wow. he drove that here?
He drives it here, yeah.
That's awesome.
He drives it every drift event. And
how streetable can you get a drift car?
I mean, ideally, the guys want a street car that's got AC. I don't know if his still works or not, but you know, if they can fit their spare tires, you know, a lot of events have tire changers there. So in his car, for instance, is lower power, so it doesn't eat through tires so quick.
Right.
So I mean, a pair can last a whole day, no problem, on a car that's not a 500 horsepower V8 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of touring car drivers or Time Attack drivers in our paddock driving their cars to events, but driving to an event, that's new to me. I think that's really cool. The G35 we got rolling?
That's a 37.
37.
Yeah, that's Chris Scherzer from, he's actually from Columbus. He just borrowed a clutch from me for that car a few weeks ago so he could make one of our Street League events. But yeah, that's
might need another one after this weekend.
That's a stock-powered G37. Him and Jeff Donati do many laps together, side by side, 2 matching cars.
Well, checkered flag is being displayed now, and I do see a safety truck going out to maybe do a little course check here. But we do have the drift and grip sessions coming up here shortly, which is kind of a continuation of this. As we also see the white flag, which is
someone's
slow
or stuck out there.
Which and the other thing, so we talk about road course drifting, Derek. One of the new things for a lot of the drifters that are coming to GRIDLIFE events, running in these drift sessions, is flags, right? In a lot of drift events, the flagging culture is different. It's not necessarily the same as road course racing. So yellow flags, white flags, or it might not exist at all. But, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt there. Yeah. But red flags, debris flags, you know. Passing flags, all that stuff is new, and that's part of the drivers' meetings now is, hey, here's what this means, here's what that means, and I think it's helped keep a safe environment on the racetrack, especially in the grip drift sessions where you have a mix of different kinds of vehicles, which is super fun to watch and really unique from a spectator's perspective to see all these cars together. And the goal is to bring context to what these cars are doing on track and how fast they're going in certain corners. And that was true before, and now it's true especially because we put the Time Attack cars on the track at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I think everyone has a growing respect for all the different kinds of driving that you see at a GRIDLIFE event. It's really unique.
Yeah, I mean, the amounts of speed that the certain types of cars and driving do in different parts of the track is completely different. So it is kind of an eye-opener if you're out there behind a drift car and you're not, you know, you've never followed one into a corner before, to see, you know, how fast they do go or how slow they are in some points where you would think they'd be faster.
Yeah, I think even the grip drivers and Time Attack drivers will follow a drift car into the corner. Man, they went faster than me in that. I should try that out. And I think there's also some drivers in our paddock that have gone drifting and not come back. Yeah. Also, so there's definitely some of that. And we've seen some go the other way around as well, which is really cool. But So this will check our drift session, and we'll catch a couple minutes of the grip drift just to kind of show it and see what it looks like before we move on to our NOS Energy Track Battle qualifying. We'll have 2 drift sessions on broadcast tomorrow. We're going to finish up our Friday coverage with a GLTC race, and then tomorrow we'll finish up with our 4th GLTC race, but we'll have 2 more drift sessions tomorrow. And Derek, I hope you can join me for that. You're going to be busy because you're running and driving and doing all sorts of stuff this weekend.
I hopped on the scoot and cruised all the way over here as quick as I could.
Yeah, you did. It was good timing, I'll say that. But how's GLTC been so far for you this weekend? You got a 350 that you used to race with us a couple of years ago, right?
I raced once before at Gingerman, and I've done some hill climbs with it, and I did some NASA stuff briefly, and I took a break for a couple of years because I was so, involved with drifting and whatnot. It's hard to find the time to go racing, but made a lot of changes on the car, so I was a little nervous how I was going to drive. Put some extra restrictors in to make sure I'm compliant, and I think I restricted it down a little too much, so it's a little slow, but it is handling well, so I'm not too upset with it. So I'm just going to keep driving and have fun.
That's good. That's qualifying just happened. We've got our first race coming up at the end of the day, about 2 hours from now. This is our grip drift session, so a mix of everything on the racetrack and a whole lot of Sunday Cup cars, which is a real easy way to get into time attack at a pretty reasonable price. And these are 25-to-1 power to weight cars, Honda Fits, Mazda 2s, Toyota Yarai, plural.
I think I saw a Ford Festiva out there at one point, I think, on, when I was watching the live stream last year.
Yep, there's a Mini out there as well, and they treat those things like taxis, and they just roll up to the guardrail. Who wants to jump in? They throw a helmet on, and that's the fun of this grip drift session. And there's a mix of everything on track, and we'll do this. We'll cover this for another about 5-10 minutes, and then we'll take a short break before our Track Battle Championship qualifying 1, which will be in just a little while. Going to get a schedule update here after a shift in the day because of a couple cleanups we had. Track Battle Q1 scheduled at about 3:25 local time. It's about 15 minutes from now. There's Nick Swan, by the way, drift lead here this weekend.
Beautiful M3 there he's got.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
He seems to love that thing. I see him frequently post about it.
It's got hundreds of thousands of miles on it. He drives it everywhere. Lives in Richmond, I believe, so it's quite a haul to get to most of the events. But he's really committed to being here and putting on a safe, fun show, and it's a pleasure to have him here in the paddock with us. Is heading through turns 5, 6, and 7 here.
Yeah, it looks like Justin's no stranger to this track, even though it's first time driving here, I would assume.
Yeah, making that look easy. And the Fitz in tow, following around. And again, the context of riding along in a session like this is such an unbelievable experience.
Yeah, that'd be a riot to be chasing behind Justin's Mustang and a Honda Fit.
Looks great. Falcon, which is our official tire of the NOS Energy Track Battle Championship, so good to have that on the side of the car as well for us.
They've always had the best liveries, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. That teal and blue just goes really well together. Following him is the Fields Auto Works number 32. That will be running in GLTC.
Car. Yeah.
And then a time attack car, that is Drew Turner, following one of our drift competitors in a duo of Sunday Cup cars and then a time attack Corvette.
There's a good mix out there right now.
And right now, it looks like the Sunday Cup cars are hounding that number 32. I don't know who's actually in that car right now. It's being used for the Women in Racing Scholarship that the Fields Auto Works and Colton Wade's group is putting on this season. And they have done a lot of good in the paddock and getting women into racing, and getting Lisa Key's license last season or 2 seasons ago, and she's raced with us a handful of times, including in that car a couple of times. So really good program that they're doing to help out.
They had a good crew over there. They're pitted right across from me, and looks like they're all having a great time this weekend so far.
It's just Pollock going back at it again here through Madness. Just such a great sequence of corners. What a shot.
No doubt.
The photographers love this stuff. If you want Grid Life in a photo, this is
perfect.
Grid Life in a photo.
Yeah. I'll be excited to see what those look like. Track car with a drift car in tow, full angle.
Yep. We've got Matt Marcoux here this weekend, Rob Wilkinson, Chris Sullivan, our staff photographers that put all the pictures on our social media that you see. And they will be enjoying this. Look at that. Heading up into the carousel now, turn 12.
Yeah, I'd say that's a more high-powered section of the track for the drift cars, no doubt. Oh, coming in the pits.
Bailing straight to pit lane.
Probably going to pick up a new passenger.
Oh, that's cool stuff. This is probably a trickier section, the 7 into 8. These are not, the radius of these corners is not very tight, so you have to really carry a lot of speed.
You got to really momentum drift it if you're on the lower end of the scale of power, I'd say. I mean, you can see the higher powered cars using a lot of handbrake just to carry and stretch those straightaways out.
Yeah, and then you're carrying up this back straightaway. That's going to be very difficult. The walls close in a bit, so you'll probably back off of it.
You probably
want
to just kind of drive straight there and reinitiate right at that wall that people drag their side view mirrors on when they're racing.
Yeah, that wall will sneak up on you for sure. It makes a heck of a noise when you get up next to it, too.
It sure does.
I rode along with DJ Alessandrini a couple of years ago here in his GLTC Prep Civic.
Okay.
And you get real close to that wall, especially when you're in the passenger seat.
Oh, it probably looks like you're in it. Yeah, no doubt.
Yep. And I had to joke with him because we were on the racetrack when it was raining, and you know how Mid-Ohio gets in the rain, very, very slick. And we had almost went off at the carousel, and he just looks over and goes, oops. and I told him, I joked, I'd ridden with Tom O'Gorman a couple of times. Tom never said oops when I was in the passenger seat. But we got a good laugh at it. DJ's here this weekend running in his Sunday Cup car, I believe. So
oh, cool. Is it a fit or something else?
Silver fit. I believe that's him. I think it's a number 1 fit. I think a couple of drivers have shared that number 1 in the past year or so, but I'll have to check back in.
It seems like at one point almost every car in Sunday Cup was a fit.
Yes.
And then I've seen or heard a few different chassis being used, which I think that's cool to see a good mix too. It is cool to see almost like a spec class like that with fits, but when guys figure out another chassis, like I think I saw like a Mazda 2 or something like that.
Yeah, Mazda 2s are pretty common. We're going to wrap up, though, here, Derek. I think we're going to sign off and get prepared for our NOS Energy Track Battle Championship stream. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Kyle.
I appreciate it. And we'll do this again twice tomorrow during the middle of the day and get to see some more drift on track. And everyone will be real comfortable with it at that stage, so I'm excited to see what tomorrow holds. We'll be stepping away for a few minutes. We'll be back with NOS Energy Track Battle Championship qualifying in just a few moments.
Born on the track, bred on the mountains, raised on the podium, ready for anything and everything. Learn more about our entire line at falcontire.com.
Owning a car can be expensive. It can also be confusing. What? And when things don't go right, there's no doubt it could be frustrating. But it can also be a lot of fun. And for those reasons, FCP Hero exists. Check this out. Do you and your car a favor and head over to fcphero.com to learn more.
Hi, I'm Chris Forsberg, and when it comes to classics and high-performance cars, I only trust America's #1 racing oil, Valvoline VR1. It's built on Valvoline's long legacy in racing, so I can continue to build my own. With 2 times more zinc than the industry standard, VR1's high-performance formula is tested on the track and trusted on the road to ensure your engine is protected from metal-to-metal contact. And I use it so much, I haven't got my car on the bottle. That's why whether I'm racing or cruising, I protect everything I drive with Valvoline. Valvoline, trusted for over 150 years.